It's no secret that I love books as much as the next internet bookworm does. I have books everywhere in my home, they fill every nook and cranny, and I love looking at them. Books have always sparked joy. However, throughout my adult years, I have realized that I want a library that feels like me. I want books that have been read and loved to stay on my shelves, but I don't want piles and piles of unread books to clutter my home. I have therefore decided to start the Bookshelf Blitz, where I will be reading or unhauling these books in an effort to reduce my physically owned TBR. We are starting this process with 205 unread books, and by the end of 2025, my goal is to have reduced this number by 25%. In an effort to make this more interesting, I will be playing different TBR games to pick what books I will be reading. These TBR games include a book Jenga, book bingo, and so many more. Each episode will bring you a new surprise. I'm so excited to go on this adventure with you. Welcome to the Bookshelf Blitz. Hello friends, welcome back to episode 2 of Bookshelf Blitz. This round, we are doing the spinner wheel. I got a spinner wheel. I'm so excited to try it out. It was what was voted on by my members. So for this round, the plan is to read 3 books for you guys, and I'm hoping to get 2 extra books in for my YouTube members. They are getting extended editions of every Bookshelf Blitz I do. Now, the goal remains the same as in episode 1, which I will link in the cards and description for you guys if you haven't seen it, but my aim is to reduce my physical TBR. In the first episode, we started with 186 books. I read 2, but since then I've added 3 books to my physical TBR, so we're not making great progress, but that is fine. That is what the aim of the game is here. It's gonna fluctuate. So our starting number, I think, is 187. I will correct myself here if it is not. But let's hop on straight into it. I have 10 different prompts here that have been chosen by people on Discord during Everbloom, as well as my YouTube posts. I have had more than 10 suggestions, so I will circle them out, wipe one off when I do it, add another one, and kind of cycle through the prompts. The starting prompts are letter dice, even number of pages, new release, book hive, TBR, TBR jar, 2 or more genres, random emoji, TBR vet, new to me author, and matches your outfit. So without further ado, let's just get into our first spin. I'm so nervous but so excited. Okay, I'm just gonna hold it because there's no other way for me to do it. And we get TBR vet. My voice just croaked. Oh my god. So for the sake of this round, TBR vet is anything over 6 months. The closer I get to at least a year, the better it is. But I'm also trying to combine this reading project with my February TBR, because that's the month we're currently in, though this will be out, I'm assuming, in March. And so I'm trying to kind of bring everything together. So I am deciding to go with Skandar and the Chaos Trials by A.F. Stedman. This is almost 1 year old. I think it released 10 months ago, so this does fit the bill, and I'm incredibly excited for it. This released April of 2024, and I can't believe I still haven't read it. It is the 3rd book in the Skandar series. If you are new here, I have a lot of content in regards to Skandar on my channel. I have a full review of the 1st book that is spoiler free. I have a spoiler filled book review for book 2. I talk a lot about it on my channel. It is one of my favorite middle grade series so far. I've heard the 3rd book is kind of heart-wrenching and kind of afraid of what it is I'm going to find in this story. We follow a young boy named Skandar, who at the beginning of the 1st book is brought to the island where people bond with unicorns, and basically on this island you stay there for 5 years and learn to bond with your unicorn, learn about your powers, and it's kind of like a magical school kind of setting, though it's not like a school. They live in tree houses and whatever, and there's obviously a lot more to it than that, but I don't want to talk too much about it because as I said, I've talked about this book so many times on my channel. So I I am excited this is in a vlog because I want to talk about my thoughts. This will be spoiler free. I might have a spoiler filled review for you guys as well, but that will not be in this vlog. So book 1, I'm hoping is a 5-star or at least a 4-star read if this is not my favorite in the series. Either way, this is a book I need to complete to get to book 4, so we're not going to be DNFing this. And my hope is that we start on a more positive note than we did in episode 1. So, Skandar and the Chaos Trials it is. Welcome to the Bookshelf Blitz. Hello friends! I'm here for the first update for Skandar. I made it 139 pages. This is a hard to stop book to like put down and tell you guys about, so I'm sorry it took 150 pages almost. But this book, there's no way for me to describe my love for this book so far. I just hope it keeps going. This book does a lot of things really well. I think that one of the strongest points of the story is how much we are building on the last 2 books. Sometimes I feel like series are kind of long for the sake of being long and selling more books, but Skandar does it incredibly well, where we have an overarching plot that is going throughout the books, and then each book has its own plot as well, and all of those things interweave in such a phenomenal way. I think it's done fantastically. I will say A.F. Stedman also is a good author when it comes to reminding you what has been happening in the books without it feeling too info dumpy, though I will say, and I think I mentioned this in my Percy Jackson vlog as well, no one does it best or better than B.B. Alston, the author of Amari and the Night Brothers, but I do still think it's not annoying in this book because obviously middle grade books tend to incorporate recaps, and I really like that because books take a long time to release, like between releases. So the writing and the plot so far I love the character development, and one of the main topics of this book right now is siblings, and it's very interesting. I did cry once at this book already, and I do know it's not going to be the last time. If I find my screenshot of me crying, I'll put it up here, but I've been keeping a count on Instagram. If you don't follow me there, I don't post a lot of like pictures, but I post a lot of stories. It's more of an interactive way for me to talk to you guys when I'm not posting content on YouTube. But yeah, and I really love the Chaos Trials element. So in this book, the characters we're following are in their 3rd year. We're on book 3 of 5. They are in their 3rd year, and in the 3rd year, the I don't know what they call them, like what level they're at in this whole thing, but they have to prepare for their first like Chaos Trials, and essentially there is 1 trial per element, and you need to have passed or found a way for, it's all based on stones. Everybody has to collect these stones for each element, and at the end of the year, if you don't have all the stones, you can try to convince someone to give you one of their stones, but if you don't finish with all 4, you are declared a nomad and you're kicked out of the Eyrie. And that is like a challenge every year. Like, people get kicked out of the island if you don't fulfill what is demanded of you. And so we've had the Earth trial so far, and it's really interesting. I love trials in any way, shape, or form. But what is specifically interesting about the trials in here is that they are based off what each element represents. And so for the Earth element, the trial was very much about teamwork and learning to do with what you have in your surroundings, and kind of just being self-aware and working as a team, because that is kind of what represents nature. And the way A.F. Stedman depicts the different elements makes so much sense in my brain. And so we were just introduced to what the fire element challenge is, and it's very like directly inverse of the earth element, and where people are competing. It's a single, like, you're not doing it as a team, you're doing it by yourself. Screw the quartet. All you want is to get to the end. And so at the start of the earth element, everybody gets a stone, but not in the fire element. And I'm very excited to see what chaos happens. And last thing, I could ramble about this book for an entire vlog, so I'm sorry if you want to skip through this book or my thoughts. There's obviously timestamps down below, but the prologue of this made my jaw literally drop to the ground. I did not foresee this, and usually I'm pretty good at foreseeing what happens in middle grade books because I'm obviously much older than the targeted audience. I didn't see it coming. I did not realize it would be a plot point, and I'm so invested. I was like, first page, I know this book is gonna freaking get to me. This will make me cry. It's making me angry. It's making me happy. It's all of the emotions on an emotion wheel I have had reading this book, and I'm afraid, but I'm loving it, and this is definitely a 5-star prediction. I hope it doesn't disappoint, but I've heard nothing but great things, though it is an emotional one compared to books 1 and 2. And very exciting and very timely for me, like, picking this book up. The paperback of Scandar just came out, the Waterstones exclusive. You guys, they are stunning altogether. So essentially what happens is the paperback kind of has the same design as the Waterstones hardcover, but on the paper. So the sprayed edges here are yellow, and the stenciled edges for the paperbacks, I have them all so far. Obviously when book 4 comes out in paperback, I'll also get that one. But yeah, it's very timely that this would arrive in the mail in the same week that I'm reading Scandar. Those are my updates so far. Loving it. Great way to start off Bookshelf Blitz this time around. Hello friends. I am here to wrap up the final update on Scandar because I have officially finished, and I did let myself sit with this book for a few days before coming in to wrap up my thoughts, because this book is absolutely phenomenal, and for me it is cemented as my favorite in the Scandar series so far. I have cried over 10 times reading this book. I loved absolutely everything about it. There's no doubt this is like a 6-star read. It is going to be one of my favorite books of the year. I don't know, maybe even my favorite Scandar book, because this had a lot of elements which I absolutely adore. I will talk about this briefly because I am planning on making a spoiler-filled review for those of you who have been keeping up with my Scandar journey. So let's break it down very quickly. You might also hear my dog running around, but I think I ended up doing my first update around the 130-page mark, and I completely binged the rest. I think what this book does so well that the other books, they weren't lacking, but they didn't have as much, was the element of surprise. I feel like there are so many different plot twists and mysteries within this book that, I think I mentioned this a little bit, have to do with the overall plot, but also just have to do with this singular plot line. And everything in this book made sense to me, and I am worried. I was shaking like a leaf at the end of this book because I'm like, what is happening? Like, what does this mean for our characters? There are many plot twists and big reveals in this one, and I feel like it all made sense for where we are in the plot line. I think that the pacing of this storyline and this story arc in general just makes so much sense, and I really appreciate this about A.F. Stedman's writing. Another thing which made me cry a lot, and something I really enjoyed in this, is the sibling bond. It's not an easy book to get through because so many things happen between Scandar and Kenna, and I do love that we get Kenna's perspective from time to time. They are very short and they are written differently, but what I really loved is the impact that it made in creating a morally gray character within Kenna, and I'm not going to say more about it because the whole storyline with Scandar and his sister is important to this series as a whole, but I really love this, and I do love just the discussion on familial bonds and found family versus blood family, and all of that was so incredibly well discussed in this book. And the last thing I want to say about this is just the overall Chaos Trials brought so much whimsy and excitement to this book. We got to see all 4 of the Chaos Trials within this book, and as the story increased, like, as the plotline traversed this book, the uncertainty of what was happening to our characters and our characters' fate was just ever growing, and it had this very ominous feeling while also being really interesting because the trials themselves were really cool to witness, and all the preparation that went into them and the kind of enigma that surrounds all the trials, because in this world they are different every year, so like you don't know what you're walking into, and just how different seasons affect the trials and whatever else was happening in the plot line mixed in with the trials themselves made for such an impactful time. I had a blast from A to Z. This is definitely my favorite of the Skandar series so far. I do think it's interesting because I rarely have this experience where every book in a series just keeps getting better. For now, my ranking would be Skandar 3, Skandar 2, and Skandar 1, though all of them are 5-star reads. They are just at a different degree, and I think what makes it even more wonderful as a series as a whole is how A.F. Stedman is able to build on her characters and her plot and her world building and the magic system and the intrigue. All of it just piles up book after book, and you wouldn't be able to get such a fantastic book 3 if book 1 hadn't been that strong and if book 2 wasn't as strong. And I cannot wait for book 4. I have heard from some people it's not the best in the series, so we may get a slight lowering incline when it comes to that, but I am very optimistic and enthusiastic going into book 4. It's scary that I'm gonna have to wait like everybody else now for book 5, but I'm excited nonetheless. So that is it. I am going to take a break from this project and come back and do another spinner wheel, so see you for you in a few seconds. For me, I don't know how long. I'm here to spin the wheel again, but before that happens, we need to take off TBR Vet and add something new, so let's pick another prompt. Sarah commented pet pick, and I think that's a great choice, also because my dog is just sitting on my lap, so if anything, she can participate. So let's write that in my messy writing. It's so hard to write on this wheel. That is atrocious. Let me fix that. Wow, that was not cute. Not much better. You can't see that, but let's spin the wheel. Are we ready? Ooh, TBR jar. That's kind of scary because that is very much not up to me. Let's do it. We've got the jar, as always. Any seasonal books or books that like I'm reading for certain projects that I can't just include in Bookshelf Blitz will be passed on. If not, we gotta read it. Oh my god, I'm so scared. We got green, which, excellent sign. I'll try to show you guys first. What does this say? Can you see? Adventures on Trains! Perfect. I am currently up to book 2 in the Adventures on Trains series. This is Kidnap on the California Comet. It is set on the California Comet. It is basically Hal and his uncle who go on these different trains going to a trip to America. They are from the UK, I believe, originally, and so they go to America and they take a journey on this train and someone is kidnapped. These, I will say, are very, very quick audiobooks. I listen to these via the BookBeat app, which I think I might have like the friends referral code, which if ever you wanted to try BookBeat, I'll link my code if I still have it. But yeah, really loved The Highland Falcon Thief, so I'll let you guys know what it is I think of this book. I got really excited because this is on my TBR for February, so it's gonna get things done. Skandar was on my February TBR, this is on my February TBR, so the bookish gods are on my side. I'll catch you guys with an update very soon. Also, hello to the dog. Hello friends! I am here to update you because I have finished book 2 for Bookshelf Blitz, and it is going to be another book that I keep. So far, we're 2 for 2. I know I didn't really update you guys while reading Kidnap on the California Comet. I did vaguely talk about it in another vlog, I think, but I have so many projects going on all at once that it's very hard to keep track, and I keep like taking breaks from videos. But this was very much I read this in like 1 or 2 sittings. So here are my thoughts. Again, this is book 2 in a series, so I don't want to go too into detail onto like the plot itself, but I ended up giving this book a 4.5 stars. I really enjoyed this, and I think I said this in the intro, but I thought this was going to be better than Highland Falcon Thief, and I was not wrong at all. This book was a lot better when it comes to characters and pacing, and I really enjoyed the kidnapping element of this. So in the story, we follow Hal and his uncle, and they go on a trip to America to embark on a journey in the California Comet. And in this journey, Hal meets Marianne as well as two other friends who were my two favorites. They are siblings. There's a boy and a girl, and within this, one of the characters gets kidnapped, and it is up to Hal and the friends that he made on the train as well as his uncle to figure out what exactly has happened to our character. Now actually it tells you who goes missing. It is Marianne, and so Hal and his two other friends, the siblings, go on this adventure to figure out what has happened to Marianne. Now in this story, Marianne is like the daughter of this very important billionaire, and so there's like a ransom demand and all of these really chaotic things, and it's a really interesting read. It was fast-paced, but I think the thing that made me enjoy this a lot more than book one is the side characters, because there's a significant difference within the first and second books when it comes to fleshing out the side characters. I thought that the brother and sister in here were really fun because they had their own personalities, and I felt more like the characters had this presence within the book, and it was very much more of a collaboration. Although I did really like the side character in book one, I think it could have been fleshed out a little bit more. Like the siblings were magicians, and they had so many different personality traits and just such knowledge that did come and help Hal to figure out what was happening. I think that this storyline being established and us already being familiar with Hal and his uncle already also created that sense of familiarity. I can't talk. Familiar. You know what I mean. Like, it felt more familiar. Why can't I say that word today? I don't really know. But I think that also very much helped, and just like being reunited with our characters and them being so happy going on this second adventure together, because in book one they're trying to get familiar with each other because they don't usually spend this much time together, but them having this growing relationship was so interesting to witness. And I just think the overall pace and the audio for these are fantastic. If you are going to read this series, I highly recommend either tandem reading, because there are beautiful illustrations throughout this book, or simply doing the audio, because the audiobook is very strong for all of these books. It's how I loved getting through them, and yeah, they are very fast paced. I love the illustrations, and just the writing as a whole for two authors felt very coherent. I love this series so much, and I'm really excited to go into book 3. It is part of my March TBR, and I'm incredibly excited to get to it, because I think book 3 is what I'm going to enjoy as much, or if not more, as book 2. I, again, will be taking a little break from this project, and I'll be back, I think, in just a couple of days to introduce book 3. So 2 for 2, guys. We're shelving both of these books. Hello! We're back for the last spin. I did go ahead and change the last prompt, and I put middle grade wheel, which is a wheel that I have created with all of my middle grade books that are on my TBR, and so that is what I replaced the last prompt with. This will be our last spin for this, and obviously later in the month my members will get an extra 2 different books. So let's go and spin one last time. And we have even number of pages. So for consistency's sake, I was like, can I read a book on my March TBR, because it's now March, and can I achieve any more of my goals when it comes to my 2025 challenges? And this fits perfectly. I just finished Kidnap on the California Comet. This book is on my middle grade March TBR. It is the 3rd book in the Adventures on Train series, and it obviously fulfills the goal of reading middle grade books and also reading series, like completing at least 5 series. So I think this would be of use because I could achieve a lot. and it fits the prompt. I feel weird for adding 2 books of the same series in one, but I do think it makes sense at the same time. The goal of this is just to read my physical TBR. So I think we're going with Murder on the Safari Star. I'm excited. I'm excited to continue because book 2 was fabulous, as I said. So let's go for book 3, which, by the way, has 278 pages. So it's an even number of pages. I probably should have mentioned that first. Okay, hi friends. It is now noon, and I have been listening to Murder on the Safari Star for a couple of hours now, and I am currently 73% of the way through this. I was listening to this while doing all the notes I have to do for work because I am working from home this week. It is March break. This book is fantastic. I am having as much fun with this as I did with Kidnap on the California Comet, and there's certain things in Kidnap on the California Comet that I liked more and certain things I liked more in this book so far, but overall, it is an incredible adventure. I think what this book does better than Kidnap on the California Comet is the setting itself. I do think it is very much more immersive in this one because we get to like get out of the train and go see these animals, and like things happen off the train and then they go back on the train, and like the illustrations just really solidify the story and it's just even more immersive. And our side character, who is Winston, has a mongoose, and so we have like a picture of the mongoose in here, which I was trying to find for you guys. It's right here. Look at this cutie pie. So I think that the like atmosphere and the setting of this is better, but I do think I enjoyed the side characters of Kidnap on the California Comet best because their implication made more sense, and I just think that their personalities were stronger than the side character in here. I'm not sure if I mentioned the plotline of this when I picked this book, but this follows Hal and his uncle. They are on their 3rd train adventure together, and in this one Hal goes to South Africa with his uncle for a safari, and it's like set on this very luxurious train. And in this specific volume, we have a murder. So this man on the train is murdered, and so Hal and his friend Winston, who is the son of the zoologist and their mongoose, try to solve what is happening. Some people think it is an accident. Some people think the man on the train was killed, and so Hal is trying to navigate all of this. His uncle is much more involved within this one. I think he's kind of getting the hang of Hal and all the crazy things they are going through. And that is kind of the synopsis of this one. It is action-paced, I keep mixing up words today, it's crazy. It's action-packed and fast-paced, and the audio is just as good as the others. I really like the illustrations in this one. I do think that they are the most pretty that we've seen so far, and as I said, they very much set the tone for this story. And overall, having a great time. I'm planning on finishing this while doing paint by numbers later, so I will give you a final update very much most likely this evening, and then we'll wrap it up from here. But it should be another easy 4.5 stars, so we should be able to keep all of the books this time, which, what a breath of fresh air. What a good decision to just pick up books I know I'm intently going to love. Hello friends, welcome to my cozy corner. I was just doing my paint by numbers. I had my trusty old neck light to help me. The lighting might be a little bit yellow, but I just finished Murder on the Safari Star by MJ Leonard and Sam Sedgman, and I wanted to give you guys my final update and wrap up this video. This ended up being as wonderful as I expected it to be. I don't have many more thoughts on this than what I said last time. However, I will say I guessed the culprit of this one. I was correct in my assumptions, and it's the first time within the series that I'm able to guess who, well, in this case the murderer was, but who committed the crime. Usually I can't guess, but I did in this one, and I think it's just I'm getting better, not that this was an easier plot to guess. So out of 5 stars, I'd give it a 4.5. I think I love it as much as I did book 2, as I explained, for different reasons, but it really stands on its own in this series, and I do think it was a wonderful addition to the Adventures on Trains, and I'm very satisfied with the ending of this. So I can take out my beautiful bookmark, which is for Team Stingers during Ramathon this month. So yes, out of the 3 books I read for this vlog, I am keeping all of them, so we're not unhauling any, but we are like getting closer to our goal of reducing our physical TBR by 25%. I have not purchased any books since I have started filming this, other than the Skandar book, but it doesn't count because I've already read Skandar 3. And yeah, as I said, my members are getting an exclusive 2 other books that I will be talking about with them. I have already picked the first book and I'm incredibly excited because I do think it's going to be another hit. It was a very anticipated book of mine, so I cannot wait for my members to get that exclusive content. Otherwise, I will see you very soon with another video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye guys, happy reading.